coming around, but this is going to be his last flying lap. And tell you what, yellow flags here. This isn't done for Alvaro Carpe. He's not going to get around to get another lap in. He's not on a lap now because he's just coming out of pit lane. If someone is able to put him down to third or fourth, he's going to be concerned. Yes.
Well, Buchanan could be one of those that could be creating some of those beads of sweat on the brow of Alvaro Carpe. Here is the Kiwi then, partway through the lap, completes the second sector now, and he's roundabout in touch. It's personal best for Buchanan, who only needs to improve himself by 700ths of a second to leapfrog ahead of Carpe. We'll keep an eye on everyone else out on the racetrack to see who gets over the line and who doesn't. There's Rouchet Moodley playing the team game and staying well out of Cormac Buchanan's way, because it's a Q2 place up for grabs for the Kiwi.
Playing the FIA MotoGP Stewards game as well, not dawdling on the racing line. Who else is on a decent lap here? That Reader's got personal best up in the opening sector, but besides that, really, Marco Morelli perhaps, who's on a lap. He's following Ralston. We're picking up Ralston now. This is through the victory corner. Ralston driving to the line. 7/10 off. This is still nowhere near good enough. He's going to need to find half a second, Jacob Ralston. He's going to get one more lap in, just though. The checkered flag being made ready.
Well, time for a masterpiece of understatement. Alvaro Carpe went through the third sector with around 17 seconds left on the clock, given that the fastest full sector of the whole weekend is 32 seconds. Carpe's goose might be cooked here. He's going to be hoping that no one improves, or no more than two improve on this final lap. Fortunately for Carpe, Buchanan's lap's gone away, so he might not improve. He doesn't on third. So Eddie O'Shea has got a chance to defend his fourth place. Nepper's in the pits. Carpe and Buchanan have taken the checkered flag. It's all on that final fourth place in Q2, with O'Shea currently playing a defensive job here and going quickly through sector 1-2.
He is indeed, and he's going to have to, because you really don't want Marco Morelli to usurp you out there. Those two are working together. They might be working against each other if one of them drops time. The two good M-Lab machines are absolutely on course to go through here, but hopefully Eddie O'Shea doesn't make a mess of this, because Morelli, if he does hold this all the way to the line, looks like he might well just nudge his teammate out. They're coming through turn 8. Hold your breath into turn 9. Ralston flicks a bit of dust in the face of Morelli, but no concerns that time around. They're through safely.
We saw the good demonstration there of the variety of lines that Hondas and KTMs take around this circuit. Much more of a V-shaped line through turn 9 for Jacob Ralston on the number 12, and it is the V corner, turn number 9. There's a bit of a bubble there for Morelli, who'll be now punching a big hole in the air for his teammate O'Shea.
The back straight, turn 11. This is going to be easy to get sucked in if there's a little bit too much slipstream for Eddie O'Shea, but he keeps out of it in the braking zone. Morelli's going to come back across, and just as I was saying, he was squeezed out there, Eddie O'Shea, and put himself in a really awkward position. Let's see if that is going to cost him that Q2 spot, because Morelli is on an absolute corking lap here.
Well, M-Lab might have snookered themselves there on that final lap with their two riders climbing on top of each other. Well, Andy Tarmer has been kicked up in the back of the picture. Andy Tarmer's fourth bike in your picture. Watch him at the back. He goes into 6th place. Morelli did somehow still improve, and he takes that 4th place away from Eddie O'Shea. Goes into 3rd place. Buchanan 4th, and Eddie O'Shea will be livid with that one.
He really will. Eddie O'Shea is going to be absolutely kicking himself over that. But
did he just outbrake himself?
I think maybe he got. I think he was distracted more than anything. This was what happened. This was Scott. Oh, how did he save that? No wonder. I thought he'd crashed. He basically had.
Well, he had a good idea of what Motul branding looks like. He almost had a face full of it there on the outside of the final corner. That leaves Scott Ogden 11th out of 11 and starting 25th on the grid for the Japanese Grand Prix. 3 years on from a front row start, it's a back row start now for Scott.
Don't worry, with a save like that, it'll be Andrex branding he'll be getting familiar with. That was a massive moment for Scott Ogden, and I tell you what, we saw how quick it is through there. How many times have we seen riders drop it coming through turns 12, turns 13? We saw Binder have a massive accident over in FP2 earlier in MotoGP, or was it Q1 perhaps? Q1, wasn't it? Binder's crashed there, Rossi's crashed there over the years. That is a very fast bit of track. Scott Ogden is a lucky lad. He's very unlucky to be out-qualified by his teammate, Noah Detweiler, last both of the CIP Green Powers. That is a disaster for Alan Blonek's team.
CIP lack of power, unfortunately, here in the Japanese Grand Prix. We saw very little of him in that session, but it was Stefano Nepper that topped it on a 1:56.245 after a run of qualifying sessions where he couldn't buy a place in Q2. That is now back-to-back Q2 appearances for Stefano Nepper, who did say, in the words of his crew chief Marco Grano, that he displayed more confidence and determination at the San Marino Grand Prix. Nepper rewarded with a place in qualifying 2. And from the front row in Misano, Jacob Ralston is going to come from a lot further back this time. as he looks to try and secure a place on this Moto3 grid for next season, with gravel still trickling out of his KTM.
Yeah, he's going to be spitting feathers over that one, isn't he? He's not going to be happy. Just to go back to Eddie O'Shea, I think he did outbrake himself, but he was distracted, and again, I think he was sucked in as well. Marco Morelli swerving back across didn't help.
Stefano Neppa, though, won't care about any of that. He ensures that 2 Hondas and 2 KTMs moves through out of Q1. Neppa, Carpe, Morelli and Buchanan, your 4 to advance. Eddie O'Shea narrowly misses out in 5th ahead of RB Agatama and Ruche Moody. Jacob Wolfsberg for his early crash could only manage 8th. Ricky Rossi on the sole sniper Honda to continue in the weekend. 9th. The only riders behind him on the grid tomorrow are the 2 CIP Green Power KTMs. So the 82 is through to Q2. Stefano Neppa, top for 6:58. He's going to be part of the battle for pole in Moto3, which is coming your way next. Very good afternoon to you from Motegi as we count down to a Tissot sprint, which will set the stage quite literally for a World Championship coronation potentially for Marc Marquez. He came into this Japanese Grand Prix weekend knowing that if he outscored his brother Alex by 3 points, then he would take the World Championship. Well, he can achieve that in the sprint today, which would mean if he does win the Tissot sprint, then all Marc Marquez would have to do tomorrow is stay ahead of Alex Marquez in order to clinch the World Championship. 3 p.m. local time, so just under 2 hours from now, we will go racing over 12 laps of the sprint in what appears to be settled, sunny conditions. As we take a look at your Q2 lineup, let's head down to pit lane, and for good reason, because your fastest rider all weekend has been the 64 of David Munoz. Let's get a word on his potential prospects of fighting for pole from his team manager, Peter Ertel, who joins up.
Yeah, that's exactly why I wanted to speak to Peter this afternoon. Peter, David looking really strong here this weekend, both in practice and again this morning. Time of that race day looking good for your rider. How do you feel? Yeah, looks good already yesterday. David have good pace for race and also for 1 lap. Also good. He did very top. He qualified yesterday with 10th position for 2, so I'm optimistic for the qualifying and of course for tomorrow.
David's mindset, obviously after Misano and Raiders win, it looks like it's title race over in terms of David, but what's his mindset now heading in his final 6 races? Of course, staying with the team next year, so build on the momentum of this year and look ahead to next year.
We're looking race by race, because if we do a good job, then we will make good results, and then we hopefully grow up in the top 3 and then in World Championship, and that would be a very good result after quite difficult start of the season.
And we know that Guido is leaving your team next year. How did you receive that news, and any latest on who's going to be partnering David in 2026?
It's still open, but I expect to make a decision soon.
Thank you, Peter.
Welcome.
Straight answer to a straight question from Peter Ertel. Guido Pini, of course, is heading across to Leopard for next season. As we take a look at the World Championship leader and a beautiful one-off helmet design for this Japanese Grand Prix. Of course, if he plays his cards right, Jose Antonio Rueda could just be 8 days away from becoming the Moto3 World Champion. We talked about Marc Marquez earlier on needing to gain 3 points to win the championship tomorrow. As long as Jose Antonio Rueda doesn't lose 3 points to Angel Piqueras tomorrow, he will have a match point to win the World Championship next weekend in Indonesia. That final corner move and victory at Misano, particularly in light of where Angel Piqueras was, it felt like a decisive Sunday afternoon.
It was the comeback to winning ways that Jose Antonio Rueda wanted and quite frankly needed. He didn't look himself in those first few Grand Prix back after the summer break, but he's obviously come back with a vengeance, and that victory with the last corner win as well. What a way to win. We know he dominates from the front, but good to see he's still got a little bit of fight and attack left in him, particularly against this rider. Max Keeler's likes getting his elbows out, doesn't he?
Yeah, if there's one rider who's tough to pass in the final corner, it's Max Keeler. Just ask Valentin Peroni from the Hungarian Grand Prix. Keeler was remarkably mature for a 17-year-old about the loss of a victory. He said, hey, at least I lost the victory to the World Championship leader, and I can learn from a rider who's in his 3rd season in the Moto3 World Championship. Quiles' time undoubtedly will come. Quiles could still end this season as the runner-up in the World Championship to Rueda if he has a good run to the end of the season. But we're heading towards the point of no return for Angel Piqueras, who, as Kiko mentioned, was on a run of races where he was chipping away at the World Championship lead of Jose Antonio Rueda. That momentum reversed, though, after only finishing in 5th place, and it kind of only felt as if the points at which Piqueras caught up the leading group in Misano when they were battling with each other just simply didn't have the race pace, did he?
He didn't have the race pace, and I think that it never looked like that was gonna be the chance for Angel Piqueras. You almost always felt that at Misano he just needed a bit of luck, and unfortunately he didn't get any. And Angel Piqueras, I think, finishing where we thought he would be, still in the top 5, but just a podium was always going to be his target if he was able to beat Jose Antonio Rueda, who looked like he was on the rails from the green light on Friday. If he was able to do that, then it would have been a bonus, but unfortunately it was about as we expected in Misano.
A scale of the challenge facing Piqueras now, he needs to gain on average 13 points per race to catch Jose Antonio Rueda from there. Of course, he didn't even score 13 points last time out at the San Marino Grand Prix. So the qualifying session is underway. Q2 kicks off with Max Quiles on the 28 playing a waiting game, letting the rest of the field get on with it. In terms of the rider to beat through the weekend so far, we've already heard from Peter Ertl. Kiko, look no further than the 64 of David Munoz, fastest yesterday and fastest earlier on today.
David Munoz looks very, very good indeed. This is a track where experience matters. We saw Munoz and Rueda, they did a load of lap times earlier. As Rueda gets it all crossed up down towards turn 3 and catches Guido Pini a bit by surprise. But Munoz and Rueda doing a lot of laps together earlier on. I would be surprised if we don't have Munoz or Rueda P1 and P2. In what order? I wouldn't like to say.
Well, plenty of topics to cover off from an MTA point of view, because we welcome back Matteo Bertelli. And how good is it to say that Bertelli, of course, was on pole for the first 2 Grand Prix of this season and a podium finisher last time he raced. He's back alongside Joe Kelso, who we know is departing MTA at the end of this year. Let's catch up with their team manager Alessandro Tonucci, who joins us.
Yeah, Alessandro, great to see Matteo back on circuit. I'm sure you boys and girls in the box are super happy. He's been brilliant this weekend. Just talk through the emotions and how he's feeling this weekend.
Yeah, yesterday was a very emotional day because the comeback was very fast. He's very strong because in the end was only 0.8 from the top, the gap. So we didn't expect like this. We focus on the top. We think day by day, and now let's see what happens in Q2. But I think he can stay minimum in top 10.
What did he say after yesterday? Is he feeling any aches and pains? I'm sure there's some, but is he feeling pretty much fully fit, ready to go?
Yeah. He's doing very well. He's little pain in the leg, but not too much. Especially when he stopped, when riding, no. So it's important when he's riding. So we are very happy, and let's see what happens. This race is the first race for him, and its result is okay.
On the other side of the box, we know that Joel is looking really strong again. He's found his rhythm that he had at the start of the season. How's Joel feeling ahead of qualifying in the race? And was there anything between him and Maximo in FP2? There was a little shoulder barging, bit of arm waving, but was it all okay or something there?
No, everything is okay. He worked well alone. He's very strong now. You know, sometimes his mindset go down and the results go a little bit down, but now he's strong. I think we can have a very good end of season.
Thank you, Alessandro. Good luck for today.
Thank you, bye.
Alessandro, thanks to Elliott in pit lane. Yeah, also in a feisty mood this weekend. We now know it's going to be his final 6 Grand Prix as an MTA rider. But Kiko's so good to see Matteo Bertelli back in action. Not just given how he started this season with those back-to-back poles to kick off 2025, but what could quite easily have been a life-changing injury that he sustained between Austin and Qatar. You caught it with him earlier in the weekend. How did you find him?
He was so happy to be back, and I think I speak on behalf of about the whole paddock. We're very happy to have him back, because it was looking a little bit scary at one point. It was a motocross accident. He doesn't remember much of it. Woke up in hospital, and serious leg injuries, serious arm injuries. For those of us who are in the paddock, we've seen him, and his arm is not looking in great condition. But the best thing about the whole thing is Matteo is back. and he is himself. Vitelli can't wait to get back out on track, has no pain, has been doing a lot of R6 training back home in Italy, and this session, the fact that he is in Q2 directly is absolutely remarkable. This might be a sign of things to come. Piqueras versus Rueda down at turn 11.
Got some elbow contact on the back straight there as they made their way downhill towards turn 11. Again, Vitelli, it's difficult to really overstate just how serious an injury he sustained. Multiple injuries for Vitelli at the start of the season. He fractured his right tibia, he fractured his left humerus, the arm bone, as you mentioned, which is still in a rather difficult state as Munoz sets the early pace, much as he had so far through the weekend. Vitelli, I guess this is all about putting the building blocks in place to go again in 2026.
I think the fact that he's got continuity with that team is a massive, massive bonus for him. But, I mean, you took the words right out my mouth. You can't overstate how impressive Matteo Vitelli's comeback weekend has been. It doesn't matter if he doesn't score points, if he can't finish the race. The fact that he was able to put himself into Q2 directly, having been off the bike for 6 months, I mean, it's absolutely remarkable. I'm a big fan of Matteo Vitelli. I'm a bigger fan after this weekend.
Yeah, he's made a real step forward, or had made a real step forward from 2024 to 2025 pre-injury. Let's hope he can rediscover that form once more in the latter part of this season or into next season. So Munoz, your early pace setter, much as he has been for much of the weekend, a 1:55.248 matches the lap time he did yesterday. It's still just under a tenth of a second shy of the fastest lap of the weekend, which he set yesterday afternoon. Piqueras second on a 55.3 from Kelso in third place. So it's KTM 1, 2, 3 at the moment. KTM's also make up the second row. It's very much a rookie flavour with Carpe and Peroni 4th and 5th. Carpe, of course, via Q1. And Ryusei Yamanaka in 6th place. Forward number 6, who's confirmed that he'll be staying put at MT Helmets MSI for 2026.
Indeed he will be, and what a weekend to announce that one at your home GP. Yamanaka, very impressive yesterday, I've got to say. Had that crash, and he has got a little bit of pain in his left hand. I think it's his 2 fingers on the outside, his little finger and his ring finger. But besides that, to come back and improve your lap time, having been to the medical centre briefly and put yourself in the top 3, that was quite impressive from you, say Yamanaka. So expect him to be right there again. I don't know who was going motocrossing. Would have been easier to say who wasn't that time.
Carpe going scratch tracking at the back of the picture. We have seen him the wrong side of that curve in the final corner already this weekend. It's clearly the Carpe line through turn 14, the victory corner. Well, Jose Antonio Rueda, who's tasted victory more than anyone else in Moto3 this season. 8 victories in Moto3 in 2025. Of course, we saw a new record last year for the most victories in the lightweight class season. David Alonso. Jose Antonio Rueda could get potentially as many as 13 before the season is done. There was Carpe kicking up the grass and the dirt on the outside of the final quarter. But Rueda's 55.180, set just ahead of this, is the fastest lap time. About 3,000th of a second shy of the fastest lap time we've seen so far this weekend.
I've got to say, he definitely likes to exceed the track limit on the exit of turn 14, doesn't he, Alvaro Carpe? Someone should tell him that's not the quickest way. I've got to say, though, up into 5th place, having gone through Q1, it's very much very similar to his Assen weekend when he had to come through Q1 there and he stuck it on the front row of the grid.
And he's made a big step through since Q1. He did a 56.3. In qualifying 1, he's already found 0.8 of a second in this Q2 session. So Carpe stepping up when it matters most. We're keeping an eye on the timing screens as we watch David Munoz, who has now lost provisional pole position, because Valentin Peroni is a rider to keep an eye on. Peroni to the second sector. Here he is on the 73, up behind his fellow rookie Quiles. Third sector hasn't been particularly strong for Peroni, but he is closing in on potentially a place on the front row of the grid.
Peroni's had a really odd weekend this weekend. He's been hovering outside the top 10, and he's been up inside the top 6. He's got himself into Q2 anyway, so that doesn't matter too much. And I'm sure he used this morning, even though he was down in 15th place, is very much a session of discovery and trying to work out the finer intricacies of this Motegi layout. But this is looking very promising. Comes across the line, this will put him inside the top 5 perhaps. Let's see where it goes. 4th as Rueda sets the fastest lap of the session at 55.1.
That is the fastest lap time of the weekend now for Rueda. 55.125, a 10th clear now of Munoz and Piqueras. So 3 of our top 4 in the World Championship on the front row of the grid at the moment. Peroni then now 4th, as mentioned, with Kelso and Carpe. The home hope, well, which there are a couple this weekend, both at the moment on the 3rd row of the grid. Furusato and Yamanaka. And Taya Furusato currently the lead Honda at their home Grand Prix.
at the moment. Yes, Furusato, where is he? 7th place at the moment, half a second off, more or less. Tell you what, Peroni and Quiles like being back at Valentine Park on track right now. Looking very, very strong indeed is the 73. I tell you what, he's going to trip over Quiles at this rate. This might be a turn 7 pass incoming. And Max Quiles, it's not in his nature to allow someone to go past him, whether it's qualifying or the Grand Prix. So Valentine Peroni needs to clear Quiles, but I don't think he's going to have it all his own way once he does. The thing is, Quiles is also on a fast lap and can't really get out the way. Turn 9 done. I think Peroni's lap is just going to go away from him. Quiles was on the green there, so that lap time's going to get scrubbed.
Yeah, looked wide on the way into turn 9, and that translated to the exit as he now drops in behind Valentin Peroni. Surely Quiles will now come on the pit lane, given that we've got 5.5 minutes to go. If he goes across the line once more, he might be struggling to do a second run in this session. And right on cue, the lap time has been cancelled. The drifting onto the green on the outside of turn 9, confirmation of that. Who should we be looking out for to potentially lift themselves up the order? Quiles then now 9th, Almanza 10th on the Leopard Honda. His teammate Adrian Fernandez, of course, off the back of a podium finish at Misano. We haven't seen anything better than a 55.9 for Fernandez so far, which is slower than he went in practice yesterday.
Yeah, Fernandez has not had a good Saturday. Down in 17th early on in the FP2 session to kickstart our sprint Saturday here today. And David Almanza is a bit of a surprise, languishing down in 10th. He's been up inside the top 5 right the way through this weekend. And Almanza in qualifying normally wants to keep an eye on. Last time out was a bit unlucky when he crashed out of contention. But let's see what he can do now as he starts his second run. I'll tell you what, it's a little bit of a worry over there in the KTM box.
They will be pretty pleased with Rueda's situation. There's the World Championship situation, which is very much to his advantage. 78 points of a World Championship lead. If you can extend that to 100 by the end of the Indonesian Grand Prix next weekend, then he will be World Champion. Now, they've got the KTM up and running for Rueda, and he leaves pit lane with 4 minutes to spare. So he's got plenty of leeway to get round for a flying lap.
He should get a couple in here, depending how quick he scoots around. But you can see the shiny, fresh rubber. So Rueda might have pole. He ain't settling for it at the moment. No, he wants to move those goalposts a little bit more. Lap records in the 54s, of course, courtesy of Ivan Ortola last year.
To pole position for this Japanese Grand Prix. A Grand Prix won, of course, by David Alonso. That's one many last year, in fairness, on his way to the World Championship, which he clinched right here at the Mobility Resort Motegi. Jose Antonio Rueda can't do that, but he might not have to wait for much longer at all. There are personal bests on the time screens, or at least one of them. Teresa Yamanaka, here he comes towards the timing line at 55.629. The Yamanaka is slightly slower than he's been so far this weekend, so he's currently in the middle of row 3, as mentioned. The 2 Japanese in this Q2 session, starting right next to each other as it stands.
As it stands, I reckon Yamanaka, particularly given that Furusato's qualifying form, perhaps not his strongest point in Moto3, I reckon Yamanaka will be able to improve. We'll have to wait and see what he's able to do. He's on his own, which is good in one way and not good if you're on the green. So that lap's gone, and he knows it already. So Ryusei Yamanaka is going to have to go again, and that's a long way round from where he is. So I was saying, it's good if you're on your own in one way, because you can kind of, you know, set your own pace, run your own lines. But round here, there's 4 straights that you can do with a slipstream.
So the riders still in pit lane as Luca Veneta now leaves pit lane are Guido Pini and Valentin Peroni, 2 of our rookies who we have seen on pole position already this season. Both are now leaving pit lane. They've left themselves a 2.5-minute gap to get themselves to the line.
And just a quick word, Matteo Bertelli obviously not set a lap time yet, but he's out there on track at the moment. He's just come through the second sector. He's not set a lap time yet. He's with Joel Kelso. We've got him on screen. El, what have you got for us?
Yeah, just a quick look on Matteo, why he's not set lap time yet. Came in after ending his first one, and there were some adjustments made on what looked like the rear brake on the right-hand side of the bike. No real issues, quick fix out of it, but then he came back straight away on the outlap to put the pressure over it, so that's why he's now not set a lap time, but he's on a pretty good one at the moment.
Well, you can see they're working together as well. Matteli blowing a massive hole in the air. But I'll tell you what, I shouldn't be doing that without a lap time set, because if his next one gets scrubbed, he's 18th regardless. So Matteo Bertelli, he's getting a lap time in now, but it's not going to be very representative, I don't think.
What a team player he is, potentially winning some brownie points with Alessandro Tanucci in this qualifying session. If it propels Kelso to pole position, here comes the 66th then through Victory Corner. course, we have seen Kelso on pole position before. Well, you have to go all the way back to Buriram last year for that one and only Kelso pole position. As it stands, he's going to make it too. A 55.0 takes him ahead of Rueda.
That is a fantastic lap time. Still not under the 155s though, just yet. I wonder if someone else is able to get something sorted. I'll tell you what, I think Kelso ran in a little deep there, along with Motegi, because Motegi's lost a lot of time on the exit. But at the moment, it is Joel Kelso who leads by just under half a tenth of a second ahead of Rueda. Then it's Munoz, Piqueras, Peroni and Alvaro Carpe still up there inside the top six. That would be a great salvage. Oh!
Through the mist, we find Alvaro Carpe.
Oh, there we go.
Who's gone down on his KTM IO machine. Where is Carpe down? He's in the first set. I think that's through the first couple of corners, isn't it? Carpe into turn one. It's not been a happy corner, that, for the IO squad this weekend. Colin Vaya in Moto2 high-sided there yesterday. Carpe with the low side this time and ending his qualifying session.
He never really looked like making that apex, I've got to say. So Alvaro Carpe, well, he was doing a great job. Was doing a great job. So sixth place for him. But I'll tell you what, you would have had long odds on him out-qualified Max Quiles, I tell you. But Quiles was 9th last time out, don't forget, back at Misano, so it's not a total disaster. But Quiles, Almanza, Pini, these are riders who you'd expect to be a little bit further up than Carpe, given the Spaniard's recent form. So the 83 down and out, but not too bad. Teammate Rueda up to P2, who improves his time. Needs to find a little bit more, though, if he still wants pole.
Here comes Quiles, who could potentially move on to the front row with this one. Across the line he goes. He misses out in 4th place. 200ths of a second we're in it between Munoz and Quiles. So Quiles now to the front of row 2 in 4th. Checkered flag is now out, and Joel Kelso, I think, will be coming across the line now and having a very big look at the big screen to see if anyone's going to be threatening his pole position.
Doesn't look like it according to our timing monitors, Lewis. Looks like we're on for personal bests and improvements downfield, but nothing that's going to shake up the order at the front too much. Joel Kelso, that's a great job done by the Australian. Not long until we go to Phillip Island. That'll get some more tickets sold, I'm sure. 66 on pole and also on the lap. Rueda, well, it's not done yet. Rueda's within touch, and Piqueras looking to try and nick that.
Not done yet.
Yeah, it isn't now through that third sector, but Piqueras is also looking for a front row here. This is important for the title.
Yeah, Piqueras, as he really does, throw it on its side into turn 9. We now run on board with the 99. I would say Antonio Rueda, who's also through that tricky turn 9 corner, which caught out Jacob Ralston in qualifying 1. Yeah, looking into the eyes of the World Championship leader, we'd rather want to see what's ahead of him as he now makes his way through 10. Piqueras, he's not going to threaten Kelso, you wouldn't think from there, barring something spectacular, but Rueda certainly is. Half a tenth in it, and Joel Kelso's grip on a second pole position is being loosened here.
Clear track as long as Marco Morelli is on a fast lap. Morelli's yet to take the checkered flag, so I think Rueda should have a clear run through here. It's all about this final sector. Easy to make a mistake, but he's your championship leader for a reason.
And he's coming out of the final corner now. He's already had 4 pole positions in 2025. Last of those came in Assen. Those Peroni toes to pole position, but not for very long. A 54.826 ends the argument in the favour of Jose Antonio Rueda, the World Championship leader, doing championship leader stuff. Pole number 5 of 2025.
Where did Peroni's lap come from? We didn't even have his graphic along the bottom. We didn't see anything on our timing monitor. Valentin Peroni and Jose Antonio Rueda, well, they both left it late to go back out on track. It seemed like the strategy works, and look at that, just a few hundreds away from that all-time lap record set by Ortola last year. But Jose Antonio Rueda, fantastic lap. Peroni second, and Kelso, after all of that, maybe no more tickets sold in Australia, but he is still a row in third.
Yeah, it is the 7th front row of the season for Kelso. Keras did set a personal best at the end of the session. He had to, because it secured him the 4th place that he was holding before that flurry of late improvements came in. Forasato got himself up in the 5th on the Honda Team Asia machine. So at the end of the session,
all of that, maybe no more tickets sold in Australia, but he is still a front row in third.
Yeah, it is the middle of row 2, and Adrian Fernandez did rest. So for a session here,
maybe no more tickets sold in Australia, but he is still a front row in third.
Yeah, this is 7th.
Relegated.
Climbing up, just desperately want to win
Of that,
did rest for a session here.
maybe no. A very solid job. My prediction of Yamanaka and Manza.
He misses. Starts
13th row.
on the Honda.
though, who definitely got it all sorted out. That was fifth. Battaglione's come back in 17th. Colin McCann in 18th. About 2 seconds covering those 18 riders.
Angel Piqueras goes from the second row of the grid. Piqueras, usually a rider who gets too bogged down by qualifying positions. It's generally the final lap of Sundays where we see Piqueras getting to work. And he will, I guess, go into tomorrow's Grand Prix with the mindset of get me into that leading group, get me to the start of the final lap, and I'll work out the rest.
Doesn't look like a very happy Joel Kelso, even though it is back-to-back front rows for him. But Kelso, he's got third place. He's within that lead group. We know that. It's all about whether or not someone can stop Jose Antonio Rueda very early doors, because that is going to be the main threat, you've got to say. Rueda, who loves to lead races from the front. El, down to you. What have you got?
Apologies about the noise, Nicky. Your boy did it again on pole position, and what a last lap that was.
Yeah, I think he's been back. And as mentioned, it's been a long time between Tissot watches for Rueda. He had to all the way back to the final weekend of June at Assen for his last pole position. Rueda back on top and certainly in very good shape to set up that first match point for the title in a week's time.
Piqueras could have really done with a front row here to take the challenge directly to Jose Antonio Rueda. There's only a row between them, but a row round here at Motegi, you know, turn one is a real nightmare, or can be a real nightmare. You don't want to be caught up in any shenanigans, particularly when you've got Taio Furusato, who's got a point to prove at home, coming from the middle of that second row. And look at who's in seventh, David Munoz. He won't pull any punches in the first hard braking zone around here.
That's a bit of underperformance, that from Munoz, doesn't it, given what we've seen from him so far this weekend, although he did make a bit of a reputation himself as a bit of a Sunday specialist. And what a run Valentin Peroni's on. Top position in Misano the last time out. That's now 4 front rows in the last 5 for the Argentine.
Very strong stuff in Valentin Peroni. Definitely a contender for one of the biggest surprises in terms of rookies in 2025. We knew Max Kiles would be quick. I'm not sure we all had money on Valentin Peroni, having never ridden a Moto3 bike before.
And 2 rows between himself and his new best friend David Munoz too. Of course, he looked to try and confront after the Grand Prix in Misano. Congratulations from the head honcho for now, at least at Tech 3. Hervé Poncharal. Of course, it'll be Gunter Steiner who might well be offering the congratulations to Peroni and Part Ferme next season, where surely Peroni will be expecting a title challenge.
He's got to be. He's got to be. And I think Valentin Peroni going to be looking at a first win before the year's out. I mean, it's a big statement, but I mean, Valentin Peroni in recent rounds, as you say, Lewis, 4 front rows in the last 5. He's been in victory contention on more than one occasion. He's got to be looking at getting that first win back, as has this rider come tomorrow, Taio Furusato. That is a solid qualifying job from someone who, in his own words, hates qualifying.
Yeah, he does love getting to work on a Sunday, does Furusato, who hasn't necessarily got the greatest of records on home soil. A best of 9s, which he'll look to improve on tomorrow. But the World Championship leader has set himself up for potentially a 9th win of the season. It's pole number 5 of the season, and Jose Antonio Rueda is with it.
Jose Antonio, congratulations, 5th pole of the season, and talk us through that last lap, 2 tenths clear come the end of it. How did you do that?
Yeah. Well, the lap was incredible. I pushed on the limit to take the pole, and finally we did it. And yeah, I'm very happy for that. And it's also important for tomorrow, start on the front. And yeah, I'm very happy. I want to say thanks for the team, and we'll work today for tomorrow the race, fighting the best possible way in the front.
Good luck for tomorrow's race.
Thank you.
Yeah, he is going to take some stopping. On many occasions this season, 8 of them to be exact, there was no stopping Jose Antonio Rueda. Is tomorrow going to be another example of why he's very, very close now to being crowned the world champion? Rueda, Peroni and Kelso, your front row of the grid. It's a notoriously tricky track to escape here at the Mobility Resort Motegi, with so many long straights. Cracking 17 laps in store for us tomorrow.
There should be, but then we've seen Jose Antonio Rueda do the business on his own out front many, many times. Thinking back to Aragon before, thinking back right the way at the start of the season to Buriram, where he cleared off Jose Antonio Rueda is very confident of his own ability when he hits P1. Can anyone stop him? I wouldn't bet against Valentin Peroni, that's for sure.
We shall see tomorrow. It's Rueda, Peroni and Kelso then who will start together on the front row of the grid. Carreras, Forosato and Fernandez is your second row. Munoz having topped all the practice, 7th ahead of Max Quiles and David Almanza. Plenty of aggression coming from that third row tomorrow. Foggia, Pini and Carpe on the fourth row. Carpe crashing in Q2, having come through Q1. Yamanaka, Lunetta and Nepa are on the fifth row of the grid. Marco Morelli will start 16th, having come through Q1. Matteo Vitelli will turn to action from 17th ahead of Cormac Buchanan. Eddie O'Shea narrowly missing out in Q1. He'll have Arbian Itama and Ruche Muti for company on row 7. Ralston's Q1 crash leads in 22nd ahead of Riccardo Rossi, Noah Datbila and Scott Ogden. Your grid of 25 minus Nicola Carot. Chelsea over 17. Right, Moto2 is our focus next, with Q1 coming up.